at the Great Pyramid of Giza. 2.3 million massive stones, perfectly aligned to true north, assembled thousands of years before the invention of the compass or the wheel. The engineering is so exact that if you map the layout of the 3 major Giza pyramids, they perfectly mirror the stars of Orion's belt. And the builders achieved this exact spatial alignment without the use of modern telescopes. This extreme mathematical precision has led some modern researchers to look past the idea of a burial site entirely. They propose a radical hypothesis that this structure was designed to be a massive energy power plant. To figure out if an ancient society actually possessed that level of technological capability, we have to strip away the modern myths. We need to go back and look at the brutal environment that forced these people to adapt in the first place. Around 5500 BC, the Earth's axis tilted by just a fraction of a degree. That microscopic wobble effectively rewrote the planet's weather patterns. For thousands of years, North Africa was covered in vast lakes and lush green savannas. But as the rain stopped, those jungles rapidly burned away, leaving behind the immense, deadly expanse of the Sahara Desert. Nomadic hunter-gatherers had no choice but to flee. They migrated across the burning sands, pushing steadily eastward until they finally collided with a massive, endless river slicing through the desert. But the Nile offered no immediate sanctuary. Once a year, the river swelled into a violent, chaotic flood, drowning miles of land before receding and leaving behind a thick crust of rock-hard, cracked clay. These exhausted tribes faced a brutal ultimatum. They either had to figure out a way to control those chaotic floodwaters, or they would die in the encroaching desert. The tribes noticed a pattern in the wake of the floods. When wild wheat and barley seeds fell into the thick, black mud left by the receding water, heavy crops of grain would quickly sprout. They realized that simply dropping seeds wasn't enough. The mud would dry out too fast under the sun. So, using nothing but stone and wood tools, they dug shallow trenches and packed dirt walls to trap the floodwater, keeping their fields soaked long after the river retreated. This chart shows the estimated relationship between these human irrigation efforts and crop yields. As those primitive canal networks expanded, the annual harvest spiked, creating a stockpile of grain that eclipsing any previous harvest. You can't abandon fields of crops to go hunt. The nomads stopped wandering, built permanent settlements, and began stockpiling their grain in underground silos. For the first time in human history, people held physical wealth. Storing years' worth of food created a deadly problem. The scent drifted into the deep desert, drawing in starving, violent raiding parties. Farmers needed protection. The most ruthless warlords took control of the defenses, demanding a cut of the grain in exchange for safety. These protectors eventually consolidated power, establishing the first Egyptian empires and ruling as pharaohs, like King Narmer. To maintain absolute control, the rulers convinced the public they were literal gods. They claimed that when a pharaoh died, his physical body had to be perfectly preserved, or the entire universe would lose its balance and collapse into chaos. The early kings buried their mummies under flat, mud brick platforms called mastabas, but wind, rain, and determined grave robbers easily tore through the soft clay to steal the gold hidden inside. The royal engineers realized they needed an impenetrable material. An architect named Imhotep abandoned mud entirely and stacked 6 massive limestone platforms on top of each other, constructing the world's first step pyramid. Decades later, engineers tried to build a monument with perfectly smooth sides, but they miscalculated the extreme weight of the stones. Midway through construction, the structure started to buckle inward, forcing them to sharply change the angle to prevent a total collapse. They learned from that structural failure. By recalculating the geometry and adjusting the base, they successfully built the Red Pyramid, achieving a flawless, unyielding slope. The jump from packing mud for a hut to calculating the precise geometric angles of a stone monolith happened over just a few generations. It was driven purely by the desperate need to lock away a royal corpse and keep their society from fracturing. By the time Pharaoh Khufu took the throne, the engineering process had peaked. He commissioned a monument that required over 2.3 million individual stone blocks. Some of those blocks were granite slabs weighing up to 50 tons, quarried 800 kilometers away. The engineers couldn't drag them across the desert, so they used the exact force that started their civilization. They loaded the stones onto heavy barges and let the seasonal Nile floods carry them directly to the construction site. Once off the boats, legions of skilled laborers hauled the blocks onto wooden sleds. By continuously pouring water onto the sand immediately in front of the runners, they reduced the friction by half, allowing human muscle to pull massive weights up earthen ramps. The Great Pyramid represents the extreme, scaled-up application of the exact same mud and water physics those early farmers used to build their very first irrigation canals. But modern scientific probes have complicated the tomb theory. When the International Scan Pyramids project sent specialized robots deep into the narrow, previously unexplored shafts, they found no mummies, no golden artifacts, and no hieroglyphs. This empty void gives oxygen to the energy theory. Proponents point to the building materials. The outer layer was highly insulating white limestone, while the inner chambers were carved from red granite, rich in electrically conductive quartz. Their layout could theoretically interact, turning the structure into an ancient battery. Historians have yet to find a single piece of physical evidence proving ancient Egyptians used electricity. Still, the extreme precision required to align these internal chambers forces modern science to constantly reevaluate the intelligence of the people who built them. Ultimately, the pyramid stands as a monument to human persistence, built by the survivors of a lethal climate shift who refused to perish in the shifting